no place like the Qube.
Hey, I'm Adell.
And I'm Anna.
And we are ACAD Productions. Get ready to nod your head and laugh out loud as we bring an unfiltered perspective to Black life in predominantly white spaces. So, welcome to the Head Nod, Season 1, Black Life at a PWI. I'm a black girl at a PWI. Been a hell of a ride, but I keep my head high. Got my books, got my notes, wrapped up hair, and I won't lose hope. I'm a fighter. I'm a scholar. I'm a queen, like my mama. Black excellence, that's my game. I'll rise above and break the chains, cause I'm a black girl destined for fame.
All right, y'all, that's how we gonna open every single episode. I hope y'all are giving mad love to our writer, Chat GPT, who be dropping them bars. Family, welcome to the Head Nod. ACAD Productions in full effect. What's going on, Adell?
What's up, Anna? AD?
Hey.
Anna DeShawn.
We really did it. We really started this podcast.
We're here.
You know what's funny is that I usually say we're here, we're queer, but you're not queer, so
Listen,
that don't work. Family, we're so excited to bring y'all this podcast. We've been working on it for such a long time. We had this idea, and when we started talking about it, we had like all these similarities. Like our undergrads, all their colors were blue, and like we had so many similar experiences. We're like, we should make this into a podcast,
right? It feels good to be able to kind of talk about the other side of the college experience. Like, no knock against those that went to HBCUs, but like, you know, when you gather and everyone's talking about them, and we're just like, like we went to school, just a different kind of school.
It's true though. We all know why. You know, this is not an anti-HBCU podcast. This is just we are here to podcast. And everybody didn't despise or hate their PWI experience. You know what I'm saying? Right. All experiences have their moments. All experiences are not perfect, but they're ours. And we wanted to create a space where we could talk about our experiences at our PWIs because it's worth talking about. And honestly, so much of it is funny. Not all of it is a sad, tragic tale.
Right.
But let's take them back a little bit, Adell. We actually met at the Black Pod Festival in Atlanta.
Yes, we did. I was looking for you, apparently.
Little did you know I was looking for you too.
You was not looking for me because I
was looking for everybody on that panel because that panel was the best panel of the whole festival.
So let's rewind a little bit at that festival, right? So I remember I got there and I was all like, yay, Black people. And so like it was this like magazine or brochure or whatever that shows you all the speakers. So I had posted a picture of the one with me on it. And my boss, Chris, was like, you see that? You see her on the bottom, Anna? I didn't even see you in the picture. Find her. We doing stuff with her. Get to know her. I'm like, okay, I could do that. Like, I didn't even notice you were on the page till I posted it. He was like, her.
Y'all heard that, right?
That one.
Y'all heard that, right?
I was up in myself. I'm outside.
She didn't even know who I was, but I knew who she was. You understand what I'm saying, family?
Whatever.
Okay. I'm just saying, COOs of major media companies. You know,
oh my God!
Don't be knowing us little independent creators out here.
But it was so cool, like because after I did my panel, which was like on the main stage and cool, and then I saw you and shout out to y'all in branding because I wouldn't have known if it was you because, you know, you showed up with your mask and I just see eyes and I'm like, who's that? And then I see the Qube logo. I'm like, oh, I've been looking for you, sis.
But so here's the thing, family. What people know about me is that when I show up at these conferences, I move with a lot of intention in these spaces. I come in there knowing who I want to talk to. I'm pretty good about that. And I also am open to meeting everybody else. But there are people there who I go to show up and see. right?
Yeah.
And this panel was legit one of the best panels I've ever seen at a conference, period. It was about Black women in podcast production. Y'all was up there sharing mad gems about y'all process and how y'all work with people throughout the whole course of the process, because it's pre-production, production, and post, right? And all these things in between. And it was you, it was Twyla, it was Ayana and Ashley. Right? That panel was lit. And I didn't know. Actually, the majority of the panel, I didn't know. The only person I knew up there was Twyla. And of course, I wanted to meet her because we had talked before, but I wanted to meet all y'all. So I was ready for that panel, yo.
No, it was cool. It was cool. And then I will say, when I met you and I was like, hi, I was like, give me a hug. Because it was all love. It was all love from day one. Yeah.
It was. And if you know me, you see me to these conferences, I do be having my mask on because COVID is still real.
Locked down, okay? I do not play them games.
Not in them big spaces, yo.
Not in them big spaces.
In them big spaces, I just be like, what is happening here? There's a lot of germs.
And it's so crazy because like after that, we became really, really cool. And then like, you know, we'll text occasionally. And then like after we saw each other in Dallas, that's when we started texting a lot more. And we like locked in, became one of my favorite podcast people. The first thing I said to Anna when I saw her in Dallas was like, all my mask broke on the flight over here.
You did. All your masks broke.
I was so mad. I went through 5 masks in like a 3-hour flight. Like, what? What is going on?
Facts. And it was in those texts that we started talking about our experiences in life and just getting to know each other. And that's where the PWI piece really started to bubble up. And we just everything we said was like, me too. And it was like, me too. And I'm like, oh, snaps. And here we are.
Like, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it.
We got to talk about it. So let's rep our schools. So Adell, what PWIs did you attend?
Penn State.
Okay.
The Penn State University, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Nittany Lions, home of the Nittany Lions, yes. But yeah, what schools were, you went to 2, so yeah, tell us about yours.
Yep, Drake University, DU, the Bulldogs of the building. And then I went to Ithaca College. And no worries, people, no one knows where Ithaca is. It's in upstate. It's in upstate New York.
What's the mascot at Ithaca?
I have no idea.
Oh, no.
That's how it is when you're in like your master's programs. I was in grad school. I was barely on campus. I never went to any games. They are not an athletic school like that. So I actually have no idea. I should Google that, huh?
Yeah, you should. Well, you know, like you said, you were in a grad program. So it's like you were in, doing what you had to do and then getting up out of there. So I get it. I spent so much time in the commons, that's what they called it, with like the people who live in Ithaca, because that's what you do. Yeah, we got to talk about the Ithaca people at some point.
Oh, the hippies. It was a great experience.
So, you know, like while we're talking about our schools, and I think it's important because like we all face that question. What school will you go to and why? What made you pick a PWI and twice?
So I remember being very clear that I wanted to go to a school where it wasn't just all Black people. As I had gone to, grammar school and high school were in all Black communities. And I had a very diverse experience growing up, and my parents were very intentional about that. But at the same time, for undergrad, HBCUs just didn't speak to me like that. I also wanted to go to a school that had like a really dope communications program. And for me, that was way more important than whether it was an HBCU or a PWI. And then it comes down to the money. And they had so much money given to, Black students because they wanted to have a more diverse campus. And so it just worked out that way.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. Like, I grew up in DC. So, like, DC gets a lot of, we're not a state, okay? Just throwing that out there. Because people are like, what state? DC is not a state. It's a district. Okay, so
right.
But there was an added benefit though, because like, how does that work for out of state, tuition and different things? So it was a lot of DC government funded programming that would pay, like, give you extra scholarships for going to school out of state. So I was like, okay, first, like looking out of state, because then I'm in DC. We all know the HBCU here is Howard. I was not going there because all of my classmates were going there. I did not wish to continue high school 2.0 at the college level. Like or they were going to North Carolina A&T. I didn't wish to go to the DC vibe. I wanted to get a different experience. But I was like similar to you. The way I saw it was like, okay, I've went to a fairly diverse high school, but I want to try to just kind of go somewhere where it doesn't necessarily look like me and see how I can manage in those different spaces, because I'm going to be in those spaces in the workforce. It's not going to always be a bunch of, Black folk. I would love that. I would love to work for minority owned as I do. I would love to be in those spaces, but I'm like, how do I kind of function in a space where it may not be all Black people? Let me learn those lessons now. And so that was a lot of my reasoning. And then also, like you said, the money, like it was scholarships being offered. I had saved, a lot. My parents had saved a lot, but still at the same time, there were gaps. And, you think about the first year, I think, when you're looking at money, but you don't think about all four, and you need to get through all four. So, hopefully. So like, I felt like out of all the schools that were looking at me, like they offered, a fair amount of scholarships. And then also, like, I just always used to watch Penn State football. So I was like, yo, I got to go where the Lions are. I got to go with the Nittany Lions. And that's how I ended up there. Yeah.
Nice. Now, do you remember your acceptance, like, letter or experience from Penn State?
Yes. So I was I love my high school experience. I went to an art school here in DC, but I was ready for the next step. Like, I was like, okay, high school did that. Time to go. Like, what's out there? And so I didn't know that like early admissions was a thing. So like, I just got I was really close with my counselor. So I got like a lot of, application fees waived, because she used to have like the little coupon for it. I used to just put that, and I was just applying to like all these schools. Like, I got accepted probably to the most schools because I was applying. I was just applying. But I didn't realize that it was the acceptance letter. Okay, so this is the difference between now and then. Like, now you see kids like looking online and it's like reading and it's like, oh, gathered around the computer. No, okay, you knew you got in based on a thick envelope or a thin envelope, okay?
Facts.
So that was it. And my first acceptance was Penn State, but I didn't know about the thick envelope, thin envelope. So I remember my mom, I was on my way home from school. My mom called me and was like, you got some mail here from Penn State? I'm like, okay. They have been sending mail all along. Like, they have all these different campuses. Try this campus, that campus, or, try apply here. I'm like, probably some more just random recruitment stuff. And then I got it. And like, I opened it and it was like this, it didn't like officially say like, congrats. So like, it said congrats, but it didn't like say you are in. It was like, sign up for your meal plan and check out, here's a room and boarding packages and da-da-da. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, I was looking for like the specific like one line. And I was like, Mom, like, why are they sending me room and board? She was like, 'cause you got in, dummy. Like, she was like, duh. Like, and so she was so excited and she like tackled me. My mom was very playful. She tackled me and was like tickling and me, and I was just laughing. And we just had this like joyful moment that I always cherish with my mother. And she was just like, you're going to college, like you got in. And I was like, what? So we just started reading more and more. And then like finally we did see where it said like congrats. I guess the papers got scrambled when someone was filing them, whatever. But yeah, it was just like this really joyful moment and like surreal, I think, to just kind of describe it best. Like, yo, like, I'm going to college. I'm going to the school I wanted to go to. Now let's get this money to pay for it. Let's get more scholarships. And, even then I was like a holdout to see what other schools may offer more money, like just in case. So that was a lot of that experience. What about you? Do you remember your process? Thick envelope, thin envelope?
Definitely thick envelope versus thin envelope for sure was a thing. And I didn't apply to a whole bunch of schools. I was clear about a few that I wanted to go to. I always wanted to go east, but the financial aid packages weren't great. So I wanted to go to Hofstra.
Okay.
So I've always been obsessed with New York. So I was like, let me go to Long Island. They also had a good like women's basketball team, and I was like, they also had a communication school that was really good. I was like, but they didn't get no money, and Long Island is hella expensive. But Drake, on the other hand, they came through. I will never forget this recruitment tactic they had. So they sent in the mail. In the mail, I got this thing that looked like a pill. It was round and it was like an inch thick. And it was like, came with instructions, like drop me in water and watch me come to life. And we were like, what is this? So I remember getting a bowl and dropping it in there. And then after a while, it just starts to expand, and it expanded into a t-shirt, G. And this t-shirt had like signatures and said DU and like why you should come to Drake University for school. It was the coolest recruitment tactic.
After that, like, how do you be like, no, like, what?
I'm at least coming to the campus. Like,
yeah.
You know, I'm at least coming to visit. It was such a cool thing. And my basketball coach, one of my basketball coaches at the time had gone to Drake too, and she had encouraged me to apply and attend. So it was dope to get accepted, and they had financial aid packages that made a whole lot of sense because private education is expensive. So it was just dope. I was like, oh, they must really want us there.
Nice. So you hadn't visited the campus yet, right?
No, I hadn't visited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and not at that point. So it was pretty cool. But when I did visit campus, I felt so much Black love. I was like, oh, I think I'll be okay here. You know, there was a Black cultural center, and it felt like there was a really strong presence of the Black student body that felt very supportive. And I met a few people, of course, and people were very kind. And they were like, come on. They were like, it's not all, you know, what is it? It's not all going to be a walk in the park, but we got each other's backs. And that's how I felt.
Like community.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely a lot of community. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I remember when I first visited and I felt similar. Like I felt like, okay, I could do this. You know, like it's a little community within a community. You know, but then at the same time, like it's like a nice campus. It's very like the class sizes, because I went to one of the branch campuses, so like I'm like it's a nice size. You know, I feel like I can adjust well. You know, and I feel like I'll be good. I feel like I'll be okay. I didn't get a pill to drop in water. Like what? You know, it's funny. Like I did want to go to Penn State, but actually Northeastern was my number one because I wanted to do journalism. And like they were like, no, ma'am. They were like, no. It's just like,
they said no. You gotta know.
No. They might as well just literally just put the word "no" just on a piece of paper and just sent it. That denial was like, no.
Wow.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks. No.
Party on at this PWI. All right, so you didn't know Rock On, you know, Wayne's World. We're 90s kids.
We're old. We're older.
I was about to say, I ain't old.
Older.
I only got one gray hair now.
This is something that we're going to do each week with like our guests and like talk to them about some of the music that they discovered while attending a PWI. Because, you know, music moves all of us. And I know it's some go-tos on every campus that we didn't know about till we got there.
There are some go-tos. So every show, we're going to ask our guests, what was that one song that you learned while attending a PWI that you did not know before you stepped foot on that campus? And y'all, people talk about the culture shock. And let me tell you, music is a big part of our culture.
It's a huge part of our culture. And it's some staples in other communities that we didn't know about till we got to these PWIs, okay?
Gee, there's so much. So Adell, you got to tell us, what was that one song for you? Party on!
It's hard because they lived and breathed Journey. Don't stop believing. Right?
Yeah,
but
something about a boulevard.
Just a little bit. Yes, I know that whole song, okay? Just a small town girl. I know the whole song now, okay?
Living in a Something world.
A lonely world. Yeah, I can't
yes.
sing.
Yes.
But the song that surprised me that I didn't know was a real song was
Okay.
Cotton Eye Joe. What?
You didn't know it was a real song?
What? You did prior to PWI? What?
Yeah.
I had never. Okay, I've heard the Journey little riff, din, 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 a little bit before, but I had never. I didn't know who Cotton Eye Joe was. I didn't know. Let me tell. And that song is long. Okay, that song goes on and on. And what is he saying?
Not Joe.
What?
I've been married a long time ago. Where did it come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
Where did no, right there. That's the question. Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Like what? We'll be at like we used to do like glow bowling, like which is one of my favorite things, like glow in the dark bowling, right? The pins light up and everything, and they would have these video screens above like the pins that would play up. But after all the Journey played, it would be like 20 minutes straight of just Cotton Eye Joe, okay?
Oh, man.
And that video, it just looks so dirty. It's just like...
I don't remember the video now.
Because it looked how you would expect it to look.
I bet.
Like, it was like, what? I didn't know nothing about it, okay? And then I couldn't get away from it. Every party, everything. Here comes Cotton Eye Joe walking his dusty self into the room.
Not dusty. Yes.
Yeah, so I did enjoy Journey after a while. Cotton Eye Joe just got on my goddamn nerves, okay? I know we said one, but I had to.
Yeah. There was good reason to do two.
Yes, I had to. What about you?
Yeah. For me, it was Sweet Caroline.
Da, da, da.
Oh my God. Like, what is happening?
I feel
it
like
is
Sweet
everywhere.
Caroline is like the drunk song. Like,
gee, and there was a lot of drunkenness. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of drunkenness on all campuses, but I believe PWI is our extra special case. Like,
agreed.
I did not know. I just didn't know. The kegs, there was like endless amounts of kegs.
And keg stands are real, okay?
There's just a lot. And yes, Sweet Caroline is definitely that song. I mean, there was just, there's like the chorus you sing together, you know, there's like this community things that happen with Sweet Caroline. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's the one for me.
By the end of it, everyone's hugging each other. They're like,
you know what I mean? Sweet Caroline. You know? Feels so good. So good.
You know what? That's the perfect drunk song because all you just sounds and then like you're feeling good because you're just wasted.
Nothing has to be on key. Absolutely nothing has to be on key. But you do have to be in sync.
Yeah.
That's like the one. That's the one where you have to be in sync with each other. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, we heard Sweet Caroline a lot too. That's when you kind of knew the party's about to be a wrap because everyone just kind of hit their peak of
you know what I mean?
Drunkenness.
It was that moment.
Play themselves out. Like that's the song.
Yes.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Question.
Yes.
The other segment. Click those heels. That segment is about when there was a moment when you were on campus and during your college life where you just didn't want to be there anymore. Like you just kind of felt like you needed to leave, or it might have been a temporary feeling, you know, but like where it just kind of was something that maybe happened or a feeling or something you went through that made you feel like, okay, did I make the right decision? Should I, you know, leave or transition to another school?
Yeah. So I don't know if I ever... Probably the closest I got to that feeling was this incident that happened on campus. And it was in my first year. And we had this big event every year called Drake Relays in undergrad. And it's just really an opportunity for alumni to come back. It's like one of the biggest track meets in the country. All of the best athletes descend upon Des Moines, Iowa during the Drake Relays. And there was one event called street painting, and every like organization had their own square that they would paint that day. Oh, and of course, there's a lot of alcohol. That's the thing. But there's a street painting. And so everyone's outside. Everybody is hanging out and participating. It's a tradition. But this particular year, this black guy on campus who was on the football team. He was dating a white woman on campus, and someone thought that he was hurting her and called campus security. And when in fact they were dating, I'm almost certain they were dating. Security never asked any questions. Took him down, pepper sprayed everybody. It was a whole incident on campus. And almost immediately, the Coalition of Black Students, which I was a part of, organized. And we organized this. We basically shut down one of the admin buildings and raised all types of hell. There was a press conference. We just had some amazing leadership. We just had some amazing Black leadership from students and support from administrators around that. It was the most organized effort I have ever been a part of. And it was this moment, it was just like, this is what we got to deal with here, right? This is still like a very real thing, and this is life. And it didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to go home because I was ready for the action. Like, let us raise all types of hell in this moment. But it was also this moment of, okay, so how are we going to have to combat this for the next 4 years?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, that was definitely a whole moment where I could have clicked my heels and trotted myself back on here to Chicago. Okay.
He's on down the road.
Hey. Yeah. What about you? Did you have a moment where you wanted to click your heels from Penn State? Even though I know how much you love you some Penn State. Okay. Nifty Lions. But did you want to click your heels?
Did you say Nifty Lions?
Is it nifty?
No.
What is it?
Nittany Lions.
Okay. What the heck is a nittany?
That lion that looks like the lion with no hair.
Oh, that's like actually like a real type of lion?
I'll show you it.
I thought, why I always think it said nifty?
I don't know. We're not nifty.
It's funny.
The nifty Lions. Yeah, I mean, of course, like some initial like missing my parents type situation, especially my mom. I used to be really close, with my mom before she passed. But I think kind of similarly to you, it was just like, and we'll talk about this later in the season about like microaggressions and certain things that you deal with. But it's interesting to hear kind of some of the parallels of what you went through. So we had this week called Culture Week. So I was head of MCC, which is the Multicultural Council, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a council that oversees all the diverse organizations on campus, and all of them, like the Association of Black Collegians, National Association of Black Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers. Yeah, ASO, the Asian Student Organization, Trigon, which is for LGBTQ, African student. Like you had literally like any diverse.
Trigon.
Yeah, it was called Trigon. Any diverse space that was of a community that had an organization. We were the umbrella board that oversaw all their stuff. So for Culture Week is basically where we would have events around campus that would highlight different things from each culture. So, you can learn an African dance maybe with the African student organizations. Like they all brought something, different from their culture, and you can see them around campus or come into McGarvey Commons, which was our main commons event space, and kind of interact with the people. So we had a bunch of flyers going up, and we had a bunch of, we had drew out posters and put them all around campus. And then randomly one day, I came in to read, which was the Student Union building, and they were ripped down. Like someone had intentionally like ripped them. Like, just falling, like ripped. Now, everyone else's events and stuff is still hanging up, but ours is ripped. And then there were little things plastered in one of the lunch areas, little cards that said Creature Week. So they had changed it from Culture Week, Creature Week, making fun. And so I was kind of like you. Like a part of me was like, dang, like, and I don't know that it kind of did make you want to turn inward a little bit, but then at the same time, it made you want to stand up. So I ended up, a lot of students, like it was like a little protest. And then also I wrote an article for our school newspaper to bring attention to what had happened. And a lot of the school administrators kind of stepped in, definitely it was a lot of like media around it, like, no, this is unacceptable. There was a whole investigation to find out who was behind it, which they did find that student, and he got rightfully, him and his friends got rightfully punished. It was like, who takes the time to like type all this up? Like, what are you doing? Anyway, but it kind of like put us all on alert, like, like, okay, we see what you're on. We did have some allies, other people, not necessarily of color, that were trying to support us and, help us spread awareness. And we did get a redo to do the whole event because some people were mad and some people were just hurt, And so I think that moment was like an eye opener, and the event ended up going off without a hitch. And we had a huge showing, like a large gathering of people, which was awesome to kind of see that camaraderie. But it definitely was like one of those situations where, you don't want to be caught slipping like, oh, I thought we're just like, it's all a completely safe space where, you are in an environment where there's higher learning, but it's also like, okay, I see what some people on this campus are on, and, we moved accordingly. So.
Yeah. And I think there's so much parallels between that and life.
Absolutely.
And how we deal with those moments and how we move in those moments and how we choose to respond in those moments, because you don't escape them. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like for me, like I had kind of been dipping my toes in writing for the school newspaper, but I was like, okay, now I feel like I have something to say. I don't want to just be like, what's going on campus, blah, blah, blah. Like this is a thing. It needs to be addressed. It made it, it got a lot of attention, that it needed. And I felt like that was my way of using my creative space, because I enjoy writing, to be able to shed some light on how we can be better as a whole, as a campus. And honestly, like I was already a campus leader, but that made me want to step even more in that space,
I have a question. How did you know?
How did you know?
And now, family, we got another segment we're going to do every show, too, called How Did You Know? Where we want to dig into, like, how did you know that this was, like, the right school for you? How did you know that this PWI was the right decision? Do you have one of those moments?
I did. A few of them, actually, because, after you go back, you're like, I got to remind myself, like, I like it here. But, yeah, I think my biggest concern was just, like, making friends and like adjusting to like the just a new environment, like and teachers and getting a social life and making friends. So like my first day on campus, I met my little crew. Walking around campus, just wandering around. We found all the fellow Black people. We found each other. But I think it was just like after my parents had left, like after my first week of classes and like getting into a routine, I remember going to like Dobbins, which was one of our eateries, and just kind of sitting there with my friends and like laughing and joking. And I'm like, yo, this is dope. Like that was like the aha moment. Like I had been doing good so far. I was adjusted. I, kind of had my own routine. I wasn't homesick. Like it was just like that moment where it's just like, I'm an adult. Like I'm out here, like this, it's just like a real surreal, I know I said that before, but like, it's just this real, just like blissfulness, finals week hadn't been a thing yet. So I didn't know what was ahead of me, but like in that moment, it was just like, this is cool. I can do this. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know if there was a moment necessarily when I knew it was the right decision, but definitely my experience of going and meeting the Black folks on campus. And when I started going to classes and we started building relationships with each other. And then we also had Black faculty in various leadership roles across the university that supported the mess out of us and were such, like, they made the experience worthwhile in so many ways. I think for me, it's just a culmination of what that felt like to feel safe in those spaces and to find people who you felt like understood you and wanted to make sure that we all survive. Because remember, like, I don't know if you had the same experience, but they're like, look to your left, look to your right.
Oh,
Somebody ain't gonna be here, right?
Yeah.
And it felt like we were gonna try to make sure that we all did make it.
We made it. Yeah. I love that because it's like, even though we were like, culturally, we were trying to go somewhere that looked different, it doesn't mean that you don't still want to have a sense of community, while you're there. It's like you're kind of dabbling in both worlds in a way, but you still kind of have your people. And I love that. Listen, I love teachers and teachers of color and having that, camaraderie. So I'm here for that. So, Anna, looking back, you feel like you made a good choice overall?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Me
What about you?
Oh, listen, I'm all about Penn State. I'm so happy with my college experience, and I'm happy to be doing this show with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, y'all. I'm so excited.
So much fun. So, you guys, stay tuned for next week for our next episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Head Nod Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on the Qube app and at DCP Official across social. Family, follow my sis Adell at I am Adell Coleman across all socials.
And follow the coolest to ever do it, Anna DeShawn at Anna DeShawn on all socials.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really dig it, leave a rating and a review. Keep nodding your heads with us. Until next time, this is the Head Nod.